Craig Coltman here for FlyStream magazine, and today we're going to tie a European style up-wing mayfly pattern. Now for this we're using a very light hook, so it's a Hanek H130BL, because these are a very light style flies, so we need a fine wire hook for these. Certainly for some of your more robust flies such as wolves and Adams and humpies, you can use thicker hooks, but for this we need the fine wire. Now we're using 80 thread in grey, and in this pattern I'm going to be quite particular to ensure that we get a nice fine uniform body underneath, because we're going to have a quill body in this, and if there's any lumps and bumps in the underdressing, that will show through and affect the final product. We're going to use some Coq de Leon for in our tail. Great product, as everyone knows. I use lots of Coq de Leon in the tails of both dry flies and nymphs. And you want this tail to be about the same length as the shank of the hook. So again, coming down with touching turns of thread, so as we keep a nice fine body, getting down to the bend of the hook, and then we come in underneath and pull back. That will fan out those hackle fibres slightly, and coming back down the hook again. Stopping around about 1 millimetre from the eye of the hook. Be careful not to actually crowd out the eye of the hook with any of your flies for that matter. Then we're going to put in a bit of stripped peacock quill. Now I just basically rub those off with a rubber to take off the fur. Again, tying that in full length of the shank of the hook. Coming back down. And then back up to where we started again. Now at this stage I like to put a little bit of super glue in. Some people like to varnish over the top, but in this case I'm just putting a bit of super glue in, and that'll actually stick the quill in, because they are quite fragile, these quills, so that'll protect that while you're fishing it. Coming over and just again touching turns of quill as we come forward. Now most Australian small mayflies tend to be fairly dull in colour. They're sort of greys and browns, so this is just a dull grey brown fly. We don't have those beautiful sulphurs that they have in Europe, the beautiful yellow mayfly. You can just break that off. Now we're coming to the wings. So this is the CDC component. Now these flies I tend to tie in anything from 14s through to 18s, but depending on the quality of your CDC and the size of the fly you're using will depend on whether you use 1 or 2 plumes in this. Now size 16 we're using today, that's on the larger size, so I can afford to use 2 plumes in that. Now I just prepare those by making sure that they're in the same length, and stroke them out. Turn them around, we're going to tie them in facing to the front. We're tying in there. I like to get a couple of loose turns and then just pull them back slightly till I've got the right length. That's the right length there, about the same length as a hook shank. A couple more turns to secure them, then coming to the front and lashing down in the front to help stand them up. And then I do the same behind. Just careful not to trap those fibres down on the shank of the hook. This bit can be a little bit fiddly at times. Come on, get out from there. That's it. Okay, coming to the front again. Now that we've done that, we can now put on our dubbing. So really, any fine dubbing works in this. In this case I'm using this Hairline Superfine dubbing in an Adams grey, a light grey colour. It's very fine, and we only need a very small amount of this just to build up a small thorax, and it's actually going to help to keep those wings in position for us as well with the finished fly. So pulling back those, starting up near the eye, and then moving down towards the actual wing itself. See how that's holding that up there? Then we come in behind, and that'll start to push the back of the wing up, front again, and then move to the eye of the hook, where we will whip finish this off. One, two, three. Whip finish there. Now we're going to come in with our scissors in the back here, and we're just going to cut this wing off to length. So coming in behind and cutting in like that. And that's our finished wing there. So this is a fly, say, commonly used in Europe, but very effective here in Australia as well, particularly when we're getting into autumn. The rivers are running very low, very clear, and the fish are sipping down these little mayflies. So it's a fly I use a lot. And surprisingly, even though it's a very delicate little fly, it stands out very well in rough water as well, because that wing sits up quite high and is quite visible to the angler. So that's the up-wing mayfly.
This film was proudly brought to you by The Fly Fisher in Melbourne and theflyfisher.com.au, where you'll find everything to tie the Quill Body Up-wing and a whole lot more.